As far as my mom, my aunts go, I know that for sure in their lifetime they're expecting me to get married, have children.
Parents always look at their daughters and their sons to have like life, family life, the husband and wife kind of thing.
They'll be disappointed at the fact that they probably won't be able to see grandchildren one day.
They want to have a daughter-in-law and a son who would carry on their family name and have kids and so forth.
I really wish that when I stay, she'll have, a family like I do, have a husband and have a real family.
My parents were very traditional, and I think their generation, coming from India, they really wanted to retain what they knew of India. So when we were growing up, like my parents had arranged marriage. They, I think, wanted to have our marriages arranged, and it just was. It was so not unusual to us, right? They had arranged marriage. It wasn't a big deal to us. But you talk to American friends, they were just so like, oh my gosh, that sounds awful, and they had no choice and blah blah. But like for us, all of their family, their friends, people in India do have arranged marriages, right? So there were some parts of it that were so just, we didn't think about it, we didn't question it.
It's kind of a very conservative culture. It's still kind of expected that you're gonna get married, that you're gonna take care of your parents when they get older.
Asian Americans are very family oriented. At least that's how it is like with the Filipino community. Like it's all about the family. Everything is about the family.
My mother, when I told her that I was a lesbian, all she could say was, "What a waste of a pretty girl." It was kind of insulting, but I understood what she meant. She meant, this is my daughter. She's supposed to get married to a man, be happy, have kids. Basically, she was saying, where are my grandkids?
It's a heritage that's important. It's a continuation of the heritage. So it's always we are taught to think about things as a collective. The family is going to be one of the main parts of our decision making. That we are going to have to continue that and preserve that, whatever tradition it was. My coming out, actually proclaiming that, would be like a demand for attention. It would be more considered as if I'm trying to unburden myself. As like if you think about it in like an Asian core values, it's always sometimes illusion is necessary, and sometimes illusion is better, but that doesn't mean that we are oblivious to the truth.
My whole family, my Irish side, they all know that I'm gay, and they don't really care. But my Asian side in Korea, my mom will never tell them that, and she won't tell her friends that she has here in America either. We just don't talk about it, and it's not something that will ever be brought up in conversation. I know a lot of things, in Korean culture have to do with like pride and how people see you on the outside, having like what at least appears to be somewhat of a perfect family.
I think particularly in the Korean culture, sexuality is a lot more repressed, or it's not as talked about as much. It's more taboo than anything else.
Indian culture is so conservative and so, parents have so much control of their kids too. There's a lot of that parents, in India, they decide where their kids go to school, they decide who their kids get married to and all this, and suddenly we're kind of busting out of that norm, right? My parents now had no control over my sexuality and my relationships, and I think maybe even to admit that to their family and friends was probably difficult. It's really, there's not a lot of independence. Independence is not prized among Indians, at least up until now. You know, you get married and you live in your parents' house with your wife, and so they were just coming with this really different model of what was happening out with our family, and I think they probably did have a lot of shame and fear of what their family would say. You know, getting cut off from their family that means a lot to them.
My mom would prefer me to act straight in public because she feels uncomfortable. She doesn't want people knowing that her daughter's gay.
Our culture do not accept gay, lesbian. In our culture back home, when I was born raised there back there for 21 years. I heard some gay people back in Vietnam, but people around them do not accept them. Or another word is, they not belong to us. So they've been isolated, they've been, you know, not there.
I knew that she was going to be really upset and take it personally, and I didn't want her to take that pressure on her or upon her, just because I think it's selfish to do that to your parents.
About 3 years ago, she had told me, confessed to me that she is gay. It's very difficult for me when I heard that from my own daughter. I was very hurt, very upset, and I feel that I wasn't a good mother. I didn't raise my kid right, I didn't taught her right, or did do something wrong. Sometimes I feel maybe because before she admitted that she was gay, I always looked different for the gay and lesbian people. Maybe I feel maybe because that's the way I look at people. I got punished by God. She thinks it's gay is normal. I don't believe it's normal. But then again, I mean, our age between are different a lot, so maybe that's different.
It bothers me that she feels the way she does, because in my mind I'm thinking, what's the big deal? But then again, I also feel really bad because I feel like I'm stressing her out. I feel like I let her down. I feel like I embarrass her, or we have to keep this lifestyle a secret because we don't want her to lose her face. And so it kind of sucks, but then I'm fortunate enough that she has accepted it slowly and that I'm not on the streets by myself, or at least I can still call her mom.
I haven't been brave enough to share that information to my parents, my family especially, because I don't believe that they do not accept it all. To especially my family is very ashamed because we came from very prominent family. The same thing that my friends do. I try to cover up or pretend as much as I can.
I will take it to my grave. I will not tell my grandma, none of my aunts, uncles, or cousins. I don't need them to criticize my mom about her parenting skills. I honestly think that she wished I hadn't said anything so she can go on with her life being in denial. If she did know, she would feel more comfortable because she wouldn't have that thought in the back of her mind, like, is my daughter being PDA in our community? Is someone going to see them? You know, is she going to make me lose my face? Or I'm pretty sure she wished that I didn't say anything just so that she wouldn't have to feel that stress upon herself.
I'm very glad that my daughter should share with me something because we are a very close family and I love my kids very much. I prefer them share me the truth. I'm very sure maybe time I can readjust it. Don't know I ever accept or not the fact it's gay or lesbian. But it doesn't matter, she's still my daughter. She's still my blood. I give birth to her, so I always love her. But something between there, you mean, that's kind of a little hard for me to accept, that's all.
I told my parents that I was bisexual around 2007, maybe in January of 2007. I think that's when I fully came out to them, because at that time, that's when I started hanging out with Dee a lot. And I just started really liking her, and that's when I decided to tell them. I mean, my mom kind of started suspecting things because I was hanging out with like a lesbian. I was ordering the L word from Amazon, and she thought that was weird, and she would always ask me like, "Are you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. She's just a friend, you know, like, that's it." Like, but the more I started liking Dee, I felt the urge that my parents needed to know, because if a relationship were to come out from it, like, I wanted them to know and just kind of accept things, you know. I didn't want to hide Dee in the closet if we were to have family functions and then, oh, you know, she's just here. I wanted them to know that this is my girlfriend, I'm bringing her, that sort of thing. If I didn't have Dee in my life, I don't think I would have come out to my parents.
I was happy for her that she's happy. You know, that's all that's important to me. I said, Iris, whatever you are my daughter, and being gay is your sexual orientation, and I admit it, I accept it. But it doesn't change the way that I look at you. You're still my daughter.
I was kind of like bothered and sad about it, hoping it was just a phase. And I want to look forward to having a family, see Iris with family, with kids, you know, going to her wedding.
I think the conservative factor in Asian society kind of prohibits a lot of, you know, kids in general of wanting to come out with their sexuality, because obviously it's frowned upon. You're supposed to, you know, get a nice job, marry a rich husband, and be taken care of. You know, what's a parent supposed to be faced with when, you know, your daughter or your son says, "I'm gay"? I did think about my parents' reactions to my, you know, sexual orientation. It was never something I really had the sense of urgency to tell them. I always thought, well, you know, when I'm maybe moved out later on and more financially stable, then I'll tell them, because, you know, if all hell breaks loose, at least they can't kick me out, because I'm already on my own.
其实这个是在蛮久以前，我有注意到这个事情，可是呢，就是没有那么明显。那我甚至也有问过小迪，我不晓得小迪记不记得，我说你是不是同性恋？那当时他是否认，那他当然他怕我生气，怕我不开心，可是我隐隐约约已经知道了。直到后来，他跟 Iris， 他们常常来我们家，然后两个人就是很亲密。那我跟我太太在想，应该就是这样子，所以我们是主动找 D 跟 Iris， 谈说你们是不是 lesbian， 那他们也承认，那我们两个就告诉他们。没有关系，只要你快乐，只要你开心，我们可以接受这个，没有问题。我想这个是对他，也对我们自己，讲老实话，是一个放开来的这种感觉。
I have to accept whom they are and what they are, because that's whom they are, and so, you know. But I cannot stop being a parent to them. I still have to be a father to them, regardless what kind of person they are.
I think if I look at it like Iris would be dating a guy and he's not treating her right, and looking at Dee that is really like taking care of Iris, I think the preference there is, it is what it is. If she is gay, then she is still my daughter, and I love her for that. I love her so dearly, so I just have to accept it.
I came out to them very soon after I figured it out. I was sitting with my mom at the dinner table, eating. She had made some food for me, and I was like, "Mommy, I have something to tell you," and she was like, "Oh, what is it?" And I was like, "Oh, I just can't." Like I was just having a hard time. I was like shaking, and it was so difficult. And she's like, "What is it? What is it?" She's like, "Were you in prison?" And I'm like, "Well, that's so weird. Like, that's not." I was like, "No, Mommy, I was not in jail. It's not that bad, or not that bad to me." And then I said, "I'm gay," and the first thing she said was, "Keep eating." I think that was her way of just being able to deal with it at that moment. There's still so much stigma in India, and even here, as cultures come here, that people just find it's impossible to come out, and so it's also impossible in many ways to be single in India. The norm is you get married, and if it's not, if your parents don't find you someone, well, they should find you someone. If not, you find someone your own, but you do get married in your late 20s, and so what I've seen with my friends, and I think with myself too, is like giving your parents a chance in some way. I think, and my and papa were so conservative when we were growing up. I mean, they were like, we weren't allowed to date, we weren't allowed to go out. I mean, all kinds of things, right? And so, we assumed that they were gonna react a certain way, and they did in the beginning. They were having the hardest time, but it's been really interesting and kind of beautiful to watch them kind of come out of what they was expected of them and their own expectations of us, and to really just appreciate us. All of us now. I think my sisters have benefited from me coming out, because we have a different level of understanding with my parents, and we've gone into different places with relationships. And I think I see this with my friends too, who are South Asian. Like, luckily we've had, more often than not, parents come around at the end. But it is like accepting that you're going to have a hard time with it, for maybe many years. And there's a lot of work to do with your parents, and giving them space to understand themselves, understand what, you. But again, most of us have been able to find acceptance with each other. And I feel blessed that I have been able to. I'm just glad that, we've ended up so close.
我对地一直有个歉疚，就是从我们移民来美国以后，我们来的时候他才5岁，那因为刚来，所有的都是问题，因为包括生活习惯，包括种种，然后要很辛苦的去工作，因为等于你没有回头再回台湾的路了。所以在那么多年之内呢，因为一直很辛苦于工作上，那我跟我太太2个人，就是也没有尽到真正去照顾地，所以在很多方面也许就疏忽掉了，也没有去真正去想他心里头在想什么。我们以前只知道他怎么每天都这么晚回来。我们一直在不高兴他，一直在讲他，可是我们都没有去深究说到底发生了什么事情。甚至他常去的一个朋友家叫 Robert， 他高中同学，他们几乎可以讲每一个人都知道他的性向，他是 lesbian。那他也跟他好朋友 Robert 的家里人也谈了很多，所以有时候有一次。我跟他的妈妈 Robert 的妈妈通了电话，他妈妈一直在暗示我，你要跟弟谈一下，你要跟弟谈一下。我没有真正去想到那么多，在那个时候，我只把它当成说也许弟内心有很多的事情或者怎么样，那他妈妈希望我跟他谈，因为他只有在他们家里快乐，因为他们已经知道。弟的性向，那弟就一直也很担心。我知道这个事会怎么样，他也不敢跟我讲。就我也一直没有跟弟去深谈这个事情，所以也许弟在这个情况之下，他也自己痛苦了很多年。这是我要跟弟说 I'm sorry， 真的很抱歉。就是这样子。